think I made it clear.
Let me do this, because I think even though we are getting a little bit off of what we originally should be talking about, but you brought up something that reminded me of a conversation that we had when we had the diaries the last time, and I had discussions with some sisters, mostly sisters, a couple of people, and even a couple of brothers on the heels of the last conversation that we had. And I hope you allow me to take the liberty just for a moment. If we need to come back to this, we will. But because I have you here in a public forum, I want to give you an opportunity to address some of the comments that I received based on the last thing. And like I said, this area of the conversations, what brings it up. Last month when we had the diaries, we had a question that came up about two sisters walking to the bus stop. One of them was dressed to the nine. She had a briefcase, and she had a look of, shall we say, purpose about her. We had the other sister who was dressed down. She was still attractive to the male viewing her, but she was dressed down. She was a bit more leisurely and didn't appear to be quite as in a purposeful mode as the first sister. Did I set that up fairly?
Yeah, that's basically what the question is about.
And I think Carlton wasn't with us that night, or Ruben. I think Ruben, were you here with us?
I remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ruben and Grizzy and I were here. Ruben and I decided, because the question was, as a brother, which one of those two sisters, Brandy, would you approach? And Ruben and I said that we would approach the sister who did not appear to be quite as busy. My rationale, I won't speak for him, but my rationale was because she's not as busy. And the reason we would approach her is because we're not trying to, drag her down, because she got somewhere to be. And Ruben and I were on the same page with that. Grizzy, on the other hand, who I don't think he would have a problem admitting this. He's a little bit more of an aggressive personality than we are. And he's with us. He's listening to us right now, and I could see his comment. So I know he's here. So if you want to say something, Grizz, on what I'm saying right now, feel free to jump in. But the whole reason why I bring this up is because I took exception to y'all taking exception to us choosing the not so busy sister, because you're giving me the face, and people in the radio can't see the face, so I'm going to tell them that you're giving me the face. I took exception to that because the way that came off, how I took it on the air at that moment, and how it came off, because trust me, I've talked to people who were listening that night, so I know how it came off. It came off as we were intimidated by the busy lady and didn't want to approach her because she was more purposeful and more potentially type A personality. I didn't particularly care for that. I didn't think so much about it at the time, and Grizzy is now saying I'm right. I didn't think much about it at the time, but when it was brought to my attention and when I went back and listened to the show, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how it came off. So now that I've set that up that way, and we can certainly come back to the single hiatus, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to address that. What are your thoughts after having heard me go there?
Well, the way that I set the question up had nothing to do with judging anyone if they picked one lady over the other. I think I was looking more towards, would you pick the I guess casual lady because she looks more friendly? That's what I was really looking for you guys to say, or expecting you to say. I wasn't, thinking, oh, well, they're jerks, or they don't want to be with the businesswoman because they're intimidated. That's not at all what I was thinking when I set the question up.
Well, I wanted to give you an opportunity to address that because, that was a comment that definitely came to me after the person who brought it up didn't feel comfortable commenting live.
Right.
And that's fine for her, and it was a female. It's fine for her. But I wanted to give you an opportunity, and I've seen you since then, and to be honest with you, it hadn't come up in my mind, so that's why I didn't mention it to you before. But I think this is a more appropriate setting, since it was this setting when it came up the first time. Brandy, you look like you want to get in on this one.
Well, I was just going to say that I didn't hear the conversation, but listening to it now, I just wanted to say that that sometimes goes to show that you can't always judge a book by what it looks like on the outside may not be what it is. That businesswoman might be dressed up to go to a job interview because she doesn't have a job, whereas the woman is dressed down, that might be her only day off, and she's relaxing, about to go to the park or something. So you never know. You can't really judge by the cover. You just have to try and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous point, and it wasn't something that I considered at the time. But I do remember that the conversation became somewhat combative, even before having spoken with folks after it, because I remember us going, you know, why y'all tripping off of us wanting to holler at the sister who don't appear to be busy, you know, because the sister who is running, she running. So, you know, and Miss Toyana, who I hope she's listening, she said she was going to be listening tonight. She was going to join us. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. What up, girl? She may be listening. And feel free to hit us on the page if you want to comment here, because you was here and I remember, you know. But we were basically being told that we should have, I guess she used the phrase, the elevator speech. If you can talk to me and show me what you about, as long as it takes for us to get to where we going from floor A to floor Q, or however high you going. If you can't get what you need to get out in that period, then keep it moving, which part of me understands that and part of me is okay with that. But the way the question was set up, the essence of that question for me was unfair, because it was like, I want to holler at who I want to holler at, and it don't make me a punk because I choose one over the other. You know what I'm saying? Big Rube, you was here. You know, why don't you give me your thought before we move on off of this point?
I mean, I kind of agree with you. It's just like, if somebody's rushing, the last thing I want to do is to stop somebody in midstream, and then it becomes an annoyance instead of becoming a simple hello, small conversation, that sort of thing. Or next thing you know, I'm running with you to get information from you, and you know what? Honestly, not that I don't have that kind of time. It's just I'd rather deal with you in a much different setting. Now, you know, to me, either one of them would have been fine. However, I'm not going to be the guy who's going to sit there and interrupt your day. If you look like you got something going on, I'm not going to be that guy to be like, hey, look, I need you to take some time out of your day and let me holler at you for a second. That's not me, and that's not what I'm going to do, because I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me, especially if I got my mind on something else, I got to do something, that sort of thing. You know, if that were to ever happen to me, because it never happens. It's never happened to me. If it were to happen to me, you know, then I would be in a situation where I would unfortunately have to be like, I'm sorry, I'm in a rush right now. Can we talk later? Can we make it a point? You know, that sort of thing. And I don't want it to be like that, because if I want to talk to somebody, I want to talk to somebody. And I feel like I deserve the same respect as I'm giving you. And that's just the way I see it.
Dating Pool Diva, I hope you forgive me for taking your segment in another direction. So hopefully you allow me the liberty to do that. I'll give you an opportunity to make your final comment on that piece, and then we can steer it back to where we're supposed to be for the night.
Okay. I guess my viewpoint is different, and I think Toyana's was as well. I think women tend to really pay attention, you know, to what's going on around them, and like, especially when it comes to guys. And if we saw two guys that were interesting, one of them would catch our eye, you know what I'm saying, for a particular reason. And I may say, you know, in that flip situation, I may say, oh, he's dressed really nicely, he looks professional, you know, he looks like he's driven or goal-oriented. I may make myself over there. I'm not an aggressive person to go and talk to him, but I might kind of get closer to him than the guy that's kind of lounging around, you know, lollygagging at the park, you know. But that's just the way I was looking at it. I wasn't looking at it in the way that it was taken. And I apologize if it offended anyone.
No. You don't need to apologize. It wasn't like that. It's what we do here is we have dialogue, and that is one of the things that I love the most about you and me and Big Rube and Brandy and Carlton and Toyana and everybody that's part of the Ain't No Half Steppin' Marcus J crew, is that we can all have dialogue, conversations in the Dating Pool blog crew. We have conversations and dialogue, and we can potentially misunderstand each other.
Right.
But then we can have dialogue and we can share, because oftentimes people get so caught up in their own opinion and their own thoughts and their own desires, they don't take the opportunity to think about other people have their own thoughts and own opinions and own desires. And so I am very pleased to be able to have the forum and format where we can have these conversations, and I can bring this up from a month ago,
Right.
and you not become offended. You know, allow me to speak and share what our feelings was. You give me, and you have your opportunity to respond.
Right.
And then we move on to something else, and it don't drag on, and it's not sitting there lingering. That is something that I really appreciate, because one of my biggest things, and one of the reasons why I love being part of the Dating Pool blog, is that I am a very strong proponent of men are men. Men are going to be men. Men going to be like men.
Right.
But women are women. Women going to be like women. And we need to learn how to live with each other. We need to learn how to get along with each other. And we need to understand that it's going to be some stuff that we going to do that y'all just ain't going to get. And it's going to be some stuff that y'all going to do that we just not going to get. But that don't mean that as a woman, you doing it, there's something wrong with you. And it don't mean there's something wrong with us. And I think oftentimes as a man, we oftentimes look at a woman, and woman being a woman, saying something wrong with her. No, it ain't nothing wrong with her. She's a woman. You know, and y'all look at us like, men. You know what I mean?
Right,
and you can't do that, because as a woman, you ain't going to get everything we do. And we certainly ain't going to get everything that y'all do. But that's okay, because the alternative is to be with somebody that's just like you. And if that's what you want, then cool.
Right.
But I don't think anybody in this room wants it like that. So I'm going to step off my soapbox, turn it back over to the Dating Pool Diva.
Okay, are we ready to switch questions?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Topic?
Because this Legacy Internet Radio is independent, y'all. We do what we want to do, and we stay here as long as we want to stay. So we're not going to keep too much of your time, but we're going to stay in the segment for another 10 minutes or so, and then we're going to do our rants and our closings and close out the show. So stay with us till about 9:40 or so, and we'll definitely have you back to whatever it is you're doing in the evening. Hopefully you got your TV on mute, you watching the games. Sisters, you watching the games with your man, or you watching it without your man? Brothers, put the TV on mute, listen to the Dating Pool Diva, and get some school in here, because she be bringing it. Go ahead, Dating Pool Diva.
All right. From the Dating Pool blog, thanks for that shout out there. That was nice. Michelle Gotta Love Miss Spence asked the question on there, and it really, I guess, touched something in me or had me like pondering some things. She says, is anyone combining dating with celibacy? And so my follow-up question for everybody in the room and on the MixLR page, anybody listening, is, can two people date successfully in a situation where, you know, they're both celibate, or maybe one is celibate and the other one is not? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Brandy?
Okay, from my point of view, I have decided not to do any of that until, you know, some kind of commitment happens. Because personally, I got tired of giving away a part of myself not to have it. For what's usually said is, if you keep doing something the same way and expect a different result, that's the definition of craziness or something like that. So it didn't work for me. Now it's time for me to try something different. As far as two people doing it at the same time, it's possible. It's all up to each person's willpower and if they really want to do it or not. I have been in relationships and still want to wait until, you know, until that time came around, and they waited too. At least one, it was because they were a witness and they were waiting because of their commitment to God. To each his own, but me personally, I'm going to wait because I don't feel like I should keep giving my body to people and having a spiritual connection with that person when there's nothing that's going to come of it. So that's me.
Ruben, you have an opinion on this? Dating and celibacy, do they go together?
Sometimes it has to. I mean, you know, you as a man, I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. You know, yeah, it's tough. However, you know, if you get to a place where you're with someone and you want to be with someone, then that's a personal decision that has to be made. However, I guess my thing is, are we with celibacy? It's a touchy subject because some people feel celibacy is no sex. Some people feel celibacy is no penetration. Some people feel celibacy is no anything, including
Kissing.
Yeah. Now, and that's the problem that will occur. But honestly, as a man, if I want to be with a woman and the celibacy thing comes up, I feel like I am not tied to my physical to the point where, yo, we can't have sex, I can't be with you. That's not me. However, the problem is that when the couples talk about celibacy, the explanation is never there. It's always, okay, honestly, guys say, celibacy, okay, we're not having penetration. That's the first thought. Now, the problem is, and that's when you turn from, that's when you know you're dating a boy or you're dating a man.
Which
right.
I was going to say, we're all...
You got to have that conversation. Right? That's a conversation you got to have, especially if you get to a point with a person where you want to be with them, and you got to have that conversation where, okay, you say, well, right now I'm celibate, and I don't want to have sex until I find a special person. Then, of course, you're going to get the, well, whatever. What's your definition of celibacy? And that needs to be explained. At that point in time, you can't be mad if he says, I'm not down with that, I'm out. Right. What happens is women get mad at the guy because they, even though he wants to be with her and she wants to be with him, they get mad at the guy because he's not down with that. First of all, that's not fair. And it'd be vice versa either. Don't get it twisted. There's some guys out here who are celibate and women who just want to get busy all day long. But you know, as adults, you have to have that conversation.
Okay, I have a question.
But if you have that conversation and one party wants to leave, you can't really be mad at the other party for it.
Right. At what point do you suggest, Ruben, at what point do you suggest to have that conversation? Is that first date? Is that, 15th when you're getting serious?
The 15th date?
I mean, I'm just kind of throwing something out there.
Oh,
do you say that the first time?
Because I was going to say that's movies right there.
You know what I mean.
But
you're dating.
But the thing about it is, some people are like that. Well, on the third date, yada yada yada. On the fourth date, no. If I want to be with you, I'm gonna know. First of all, after the first date, I'm gonna know if I can deal with you.
Right.
Once again, the first date is always representative.
Mm-hmm.
The second date is one of those things where you kind of get to know each other, that sort of thing. Now, if the celibacy, as a woman, this is just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. As a woman, you should never bring up that you're celibate on the first date, because what that does, it automatically puts a wall up. Especially, even if a dude's cool with that, it's like, whoa, you already assuming I just want to have sex with you and be done, and that's unfair.
Okay.
Now, if a guy does that, and this is, you can call it what you want. If a guy says that, I think it's more acceptable. Unless you know for a fact this chick is getting down and dirty. If you know this chick's getting down and dirty, and you're dating her, and you say you're celibate, then you already messed yourself up.
But then that's just the statement, I'm celibate. That's not an actual conversation about the whole, this is what I do and what I don't do then.
Well, but here's the problem with that. If you say celibacy, that automatically means chastity belt. As a guy, that's automatically chastity belt, and oh well, I'm no longer attracted to you physically, so I have to find something else to be attracted to you for. You don't say that on the first date unless you just want to not date that person.
So it becomes more like she goes into a friendship bucket if she says that on.
Nah, she goes. I'm never gonna call you.
Go away. Yeah. I never want to see you again. Bucket.
Exactly.
Oh, damn.
Well, I mean,
just being real. I've been silent on this, and now I'm gonna speak.
Okay.
I'm not trying to roll with somebody that's celibate. I'm just not. And that's no disrespect for people who are, but I'm a physical dude, and I need somebody that's gonna be physical with me. So if you're not trying to be physical with me, then sorry, we can be, you can be in the friend bucket for real, But as far as the relationship bucket, there is no bucket for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's assume you have been dating for a long time. Okay, and y'all didn't do anything yet.
That's not
because she's
possible for me.
Oh, it's not possible.
No, I just said that.
So are you saying?
I'm not saying that we need to get it in on the first date, second date, third date, fifth date.
Right.
I'm not putting a number on it.
Right.
But what I'm not doing is having the I'm celibate conversation, like Ruben said. I'm not having that conversation because, like he said, and this is one of those things where, you can make it about gender if you want. But if you listen to his comment wasn't about gender. His comment was about individual.
Right.
So if you want to make it about gender, that's a you thing. His comment was, if you bring that up to me on the first date or too soon, whenever too soon is for you, if you bring that up too soon, that's an immediate red flag because it doesn't mean that I'm looking at you saying, I can't wait to take you somewhere and have sex with you. Okay, that's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is, if I'm feeling close to you, if I'm enjoying spending time with you, if I feel attracted to you, I don't want there to be the immediate stop sign that tells me that I shouldn't even be thinking like that.
You have already placed limits on your relationship with this person.
It's limited, and Grizzy is listening to us.
Oh, God.
And he says that he's disagreeing with celibacy. Well, I'm going to Marcus-size the Grizzy comments. He says no on the celibacy. You don't buy a car without test driving. I agree with that. Santee Nathan says ain't nobody got time for that. The green room again. Jay Grizzy he's defining celibacy. Toyana, we know you listening. She's got a bunch of comments, and unfortunately I can't read them all, but she's got a bunch of comments, and I just want to give you some love. We know you listening, but you got a lot in there, and I can't read all of that.
And I will say this is probably the toughest thing for a woman to get past.
Hallelujah.
Because men are physical people. Like me, I am so touchy-feely, it's annoying. It can be very... Ooh, my phone's wrong. It can be very annoying. And, I like to hug up on my girl. I like to kiss my girl. I like to do whatever. Stop it. For me, I like that. And if I can't touch you, if I touch you and you push away, oh, you just shut down. You want to shut me down? Push away from me. You will get nothing. You won't even get you be lucky if you get a bow when I walk out the door. Yeah,
because I mean, while I agree with you on that, I don't know that I want to go there because it's not necessarily the essence of celibacy as I see celibacy. Celibacy to me means no sex,
right?
No sex, and you could say penetration, whatever. There's lots of ways that you can have sex without penetration, and depending on the individual, that may be on or may be off the celibacy table. My thing is, I am a very physical and emotional man. It's not politically correct to say that you're an emotional man, but then again, I don't really care what people think about me. You can think what you want to think. I could care less what you think. So that's just me. I need to be around somebody, like Ruben said, I like to touch you, I like to see you, I like to be around you, I want to be close to you in every single way. And so for me, if I was a single man, I'm not saying that on the first date I need to take you somewhere and we doing stuff. Yeah. Not saying that at all. So if that's how it's coming off, let me be clear on that. But what I'm also saying is, if we having a conversation in the first date, I'm celibate, you just chase me away. And as sisters, because I care about y'all as sisters, not just black women, but as my sisters, because I feel like I've got close enough to y'all where I can speak to y'all as sisters, where y'all won't feel some kind of way, where y'all won't feel some kind of way about me keeping it real with y'all. Trust me, don't be saying that. You can feel that, but you ain't got to give it all on the first night in that way, or in the other way,
Well, I'll explain mine. I'll explain mine. Me, I don't let men by my house if I don't know them. I'll go out in public and meet them somewhere.
Well, that's the way you should. That's the way you should be.
Yeah.
But so if we're gonna have that conversation, it'll probably be like their second or third time coming to my house. But you're not gonna just easily come over to my house either. Most of the time when they get to the house, they start feeling all comfortable. Hey, baby, how you doing? Want to rub up on your shoulders and whatnot. So that's when I have the conversation. Hold on, brother. I like you. We can
But that's
do
see,
something.
but see, that's different, and that's fair. That's different, and that's fair because you have been put in a position where you have to go ahead and put it out there. You're not offering it unsolicited. You're not, saying it because, again, I speak to y'all as my sisters. A man is going to take that as, you trying to kind of put him in his place before there's ever any kind of situation established. That's why Butler's asking a very fair question. What should she say if you have been dating for a little bit and you're ready for something and she is not? So does she not get thrown in the I'm not calling you back bucket? That is a very fair question, Big Rube.
Oh, she's asking it to me?
She's not asking it specifically to you, but as a man in the room, because we did lose Carlton Banks, so it's just you and I here.
Yeah.
I'm going to come to you first. How do you respond to S.Y. Butler?
Well, if we've been dating for a while, first of all, if I'm going to date you more than, let's say, 2 times, I'm feeling you. Because I'm not going to spend my time with someone without feeling them. It's just not going to happen.
I'm just
talking about being around them. If for instance, if we go out on that 3rd date, that means I like you. And I want to spend the time with you.
I hope a sister feel the same way and don't be wasting time with jackasses. I know y'all do it, and y'all shouldn't do it.
Not
because you're setting yourself up if you do.
Not all of us do it. A lot of them
okay,
do.
that's fair. That's fair because I always.
So I mean, with that question, if we get to the point where I'm feeling some kind of way about you, my assumption is by then that I'm feeling that certain way, I would have somewhat made a move at this point. At that point in time, as far as the kissing, anyway, I want us to, if we're comfortable enough to have that conversation, and I have to say that because I don't want to say, well, you try to say on that 3rd day you're gonna jump her bones or whatever. No, it's not about that. And I can only speak for myself. We would have had that conversation on 3rd or 4th date or whatever, because at that point in time, I'm opening up, and we may have a conversation like that. Because to be perfectly honest with you, I'm a man and I can have that conversation. Some people cannot have that conversation because they cannot mentally deal with it. Now, at that point in time, it's date number 4, whatever, it gets a little hot and heavy. Then we have that conversation. At that point in time, I make a decision whether I want to continue on or not.
So is it the men's take that there can't be a successful dating with celibacy?
No, you can. Well, you can be successful in it. However, you cannot throw up the brick wall without you, because basically what happens is if you tell me on date 1-on-1, number 2, look, I'm celibate, we ain't doing nothing. Well, I think I'm gonna exit stage right.
See, and the explanation behind that, I'm sorry, Ruben, I didn't mean to cut you off. The explanation behind that is I might be okay with it. Yeah. I might be okay with it. But the fact that you are throwing that out there in my face right now without giving me an opportunity to get to know you and to get to like you and to get to respect you and to get to the point where it don't matter, you know what I'm saying? Because again, we have to understand that men and women have differences, physiological differences, the way we wired. And whether it's, again, politically correct or not, men like to have sex. And sometimes it ain't got no love in it. It just doesn't. Sometimes men like to have sex and it don't matter who it's with. And that's not a real, nice thing to say, but that's just real talk.
It's real.
And so if you say that to him on the first night before he has an opportunity to know you and to understand how beautiful you are inside, obviously on the outside, obviously on the outside, I'm sitting here, I can see it. But before he has an opportunity to get to know you and to know how sweet you are and to know all the wonderful things about you and the things that he knows that will mix with him to make him better, so that he stopped thinking about just trying to get in your pants. He wants to get inside your head and inside your heart now. Once you take that off the table by saying that getting in my pants ain't never going to happen, he's never going to get to the point where he's going to allow himself to get to know you better. And again, some of these things we say ain't politically correct, but sisters, y'all need to hear this from men that's willing to give the secrets. There's some brothers right now that's listening that's mad right now because we giving that up. We're giving up the secrets. But
y'all going into Steve Harvey pile.
It is what it is.
Please don't put me in the class with that dude.
I mean, but the thing
I
about
dress
it
better.
The thing about it is just, for the most part, of course, you have some men who are just out to get the booty, and it is what it is. However, there's some of us who not exactly, we're out to get the booty, but we might be willing to wait, or we might be willing to earn it.
Okay, I have a question from the perspective of the men. At what point does it become misleading, or she should have told me this before? Why am I just finding out? Like, at what point would the men feel misled?
Men hate teasers with a passion. With a passion. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that you're celibate, and next thing you know, we're fondling each other. I mean, because you're basically saying, "Hey, I want you, but I really can't have you because I'm not giving you the key to my chastity belt." And sorry for the listeners out there, blue balls is not cool. I mean, you say you laugh, but that is so not cool.
Can I say something?
And you want a man to not like you for a minute? Yeah.
Women have something similar to that. You know, where
but you can get it from us and we could tell you no.
You can do what?
you can get it from us and we ain't gonna tell you no.
But if we choose to, in Brandon's case, to be celibate,
that's a choice.
But
that's your choice. That's the difference. See, but that's the difference between what you saying and what he just said. Because what he just said is, don't be saying that it ain't going down, and then we up in some place and you all up on me, and then right when I start like about to make that move, and then you're like, oh, I told you we not doing nothing. That's the difference. Whereas you in your mind know you're not doing nothing, and you start rolling up on me, and now you feeling those feminine blue balls. That's a you problem, because you are the reason that's in control of that.
And that's why it's very important to have that discussion. When you get to the point in a relationship where you're feeling him and he's feeling you, and y'all really haven't done anything yet, that's when it's time to have that discussion. Because you say celibate, it says, my mind, no sex, no pet, no nothing. However, there are some people who believe celibacy is no penetration, but we can have oral. Sorry to be blunt like that.
And even other stuff.
Yeah, because they just don't want the vagina thing to happen. And it is what it is. That's why it's so important to have that discussion before you get that way. Because you know what? You may say I'm celibate, and you get into a relationship 3 months down the line. Yeah, I don't really want to do the vagina thing, but you know what? We can step to another level. And you know, that's important for a man. You know what? That's really important, especially if a dude is like basically saying, fine, we good. And then instead of going full bore with it, every once in a while you give a little bit more. I'm not saying you have to, but if you want to have that, if that's the relationship that y'all have, that's real cool. You know, it's like Pavlov's dog, man. If you tell him that, if you say, no, you can't, you do this, yeah, I can have this. Yeah, I can have this. You can train that dog to do whatever you want. Unfortunately, and I hate to say this, men are somehow like dogs. If you treat us right in the right way, and you give us a treat every once in a while, you will have the right man for you. But the problem is, a lot of women are not patient enough to get what they really want. Because let's just be honest, the dude you bumped into in the street yesterday, you know, that could have been your man. It could. But you don't want to take the time to get to know him and all that stuff. And I understand there are a lot of idiots out here, but among the idiots, there are some good dudes out there. You just unfortunately have to take the time to find them. Yeah, you might have to wade through and stuff. And let's be honest, I want to dispel this rumor. They're all not found in church.
Yeah. You know, I Steppin Marcus. Yeah, and I Steppin Marcus. Yeah, Hakeem hits us up. He disagrees. 97% of women he's been with have always made the first move. 97% of the time, I have never had to ask for it. They just threw it. And sometimes I've been like, yo, it's too soon. I am not the man. I'm not going. I'm not saying that, but all women have the same thing. And sometimes you want to get to know them first, what separates them from the rest. And why do I want to sleep with you? just because you look good doesn't mean that sex is going to be good. Just because you're seductive doesn't mean it's going to be good. Make me want you in another way, because the only thing easier to get than sex is air and water.
What was that gentleman's name?
Yeah, that's how I came, man. You know, and you know, y'all can sit here and y'all can get giddy, giggly, excited. I mean, I'm halfway through your comment, Hawk, and you should see the two of them just grinning at me and right now talking about, oh my God, he's so great. You know what? I mean, I know Hakeem personally. I've known him for over 20 years, and that's sincere from him. He feels that way, and you know, I have no reason to discount that. You know, and Hakeem's a real man. He always has been. But everybody don't feel like that. Everybody just don't feel like that. It is what it is. And while it's rare, there is precedent for the horny ass woman with the celibate man. So, I mean, it does go both ways. I think the essence of what we need to take from this is just be true to who you are, like Ruben says. If you ain't trying to do nothing, then don't be trying to tease me, because I don't like that. I don't like seeing you dressed in a nice, pretty outfit when we're in an intimate setting, but I know I can't touch it. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to go to Tiffany's and see that nice diamond. I can't buy it. You know what I mean? Like, that's whack. And don't put me in a position to call you whack. That simple. Let's do one more, and then let's get on out of here.